Hey, everybody who's logged in right now. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to start around 11:05, so we're going to give the folks who are latecomers a chance to log in. So we'll start at 11:05. Hey, everybody. Thanks again for dialing in. We'll be starting in another minute. Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday, all, and welcome back to another session of Chat with X.commerce. Chat with X.commerce is your open conversation with the PMs, architects, and evangelists at X.commerce. I'd like to start out by thanking all of you who attended our inaugural session last week. It was a great success. We received and answered a lot of interesting questions and comments from the audience. For those of you who may have missed it, we had an open discussion about the current state of X.commerce, why you'd want to integrate with a fabric, and we discussed our leading app integrations on the X.commerce fabric. I'd like to make a special mention to all of you who took the time out to fill out our feedback form after the last show. Thank you for your generosity and time and the candor in your comments to us. Your feedback is really important, and we really do take all your comments into consideration. So I can't mention enough. Thank you for your comments. Okay, so enough about the last show. What are we going to talk about this week? This week we have on our show Surenyan Bigaram. He's the X.commerce open commerce evangelist. He's an expert in all areas related to hacking and experimenting with new and exciting technologies. At OSCON, he gave a great presentation about the specific characteristics of X.commerce that drives its open source strategy and how the core values necessary to achieve this vision aligns with the open source values and principles. Today, he will show us how to build a Hello World capability on the X.commerce Fabric. In addition to Surenyan, we also have our panel of X.commerce experts. They are Vivek from our product management team, Autumn, she is our PayPal community manager, and I am Jimmy, your host, and my day job is community manager for X.commerce. Now, before I hand things off to Surenyan, I just want to go over our agenda. It's pretty simple. We start with a presentation from Surenyan, and we follow that up by opening the floor to questions and comments from the audience. But don't think that while Surenyan is speaking, you can't or shouldn't be asking your questions or airing your comments. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, this is an open conversation. So this means at any time during this hour, you're welcome to chime in and speak your mind. So if you have something to say during the presentation, by all means, please speak up. Now, in order to do this, please type your questions or comments into the question box in the GoToWebinar control panel. That's over on the right-hand side. We'll take all questions and comments in the order that they are asked. And if we don't get to them, please shoot us an email at developer@x.com. Again, if we don't get to your questions or your comments, please shoot us an email at developer@x.com. And we'll make sure to get back to you as soon as possible. Now, at the end of the session, you all will receive a survey about today's event. It's very important that you fill this out and be honest with your comments. Only with your help can we make this event a success. Okay, with all that said, let's hand things over to Surenyan. Take it away, man.
Hey, thanks, Jimmy. Thanks, guys. Thanks for attending this webinar. So here, what we're going to do is in the last webinar we talked about what Xcommerce is in general. Vivek presented the platform and how it's useful, how you can use it to develop your commerce applications. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a little bit more deeper into what it takes to build a capability. Capability is something that interfaces with the fabric, that talks to the fabric. It can be a commerce service. It can be actually any use case that solves a commerce need. So the use case that I'm going to present today is a simple, very simple hello world kind of use case, which demonstrates the different aspects of how the communication or the messaging takes place back and forth. So the scope of this talk is I'll be showing a live demo at the end, but before that I'll kind of introduce the terminologies that I'm going to use, and I'm going to present a general overview of what an Xcommerce capability is, what is the platform, and what are we really looking for, and what is the current use case that I'm going to demonstrate, and I'll just conclude that with a live example. As Jimmy mentioned, like if you have any questions or if you feel that something needs to be elaborated more, just feel free to post your question, and I'll try my best to get to that. Okay, thanks a lot. All right, so generally, right, let's take a look at what the platform is. So Xcommerce platform is formed with the vision of uniting developers, merchants, and system integrators under one umbrella. So the needs that merchants have, that should be solved by the developers, and similarly, whatever needs the system integrators have and whatever problems that they are seeing with respect to integration, they should have an easy access to solving these things. So that is the vision with which this platform was formed. So the core tenet of the platform, which we call the fabric, it's inherently a messaging bus. So what it does is it tells the capabilities that, hey, you know what, I'm going to service as the message broker. If you have any, you can send me your messages, and as long as it's authorized and you're authenticated to send these messages, I'm going to make sure that I route it to somebody else, whoever is consuming your service. So that's a simple messaging model. Sender sends something to the fabric looks at the message and it routes to the desired parties. Right? The biggest thing, the way I see the platform is, it gives developers this huge opportunity to compete with big commerce service providers. It's like riding on the shoulders of a giant. For instance, when I'm building something, for instance, I want to be a shipping provider. I say that, hey, you know what? I'm going to present myself as a shipping provider to all these merchants, but I'm standing against like FedEx, UPS, and all these guys who have good contacts, good relationship with all these merchants, right? So to me, I don't have I'm already losing ground. So what the platform does is it brings all these merchants face to face with this developer, and the developer can now create value added service. And by that, by creating that, they reach all these merchants, so they can compete with all these big guys. Now, what exactly is a capability, right? As I mentioned before, capability is any application that solves a commerce need. It can be order fulfillment. It can be any kind of shipping service, a marketplace, a comparison shopping engine where your inventory data is compared against all the do a price comparison against all the other competitors. It can be inventory management. So pretty much any commerce need that you can conceive of, that if you write an application that solves it, it can be termed as a capability.
Hey, Serenian.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah.
Can everybody logged in right now hear any audio? If you cannot, please chime in on the questions box, and I'll try to take care of it. Okay, we had one person complain. So if you guys can't hear anything, please. Okay, it sounds like it just one off then. Okay, go ahead, Serena. Continue.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay, so who can be a capability developer, right? Now, as a developer, if I want to offer a commerce service, I can be a capability developer. So any developer who wants to be a commerce service providers can be termed as capability developers. Similarly, companies who want to offer commerce services to merchants. So for instance, like FedEx can offer shipping services, right? Avlara can offer tax services. So anybody who wants to offer any kind of a commerce service, they by default become a capability developer. So now we mentioned initially we saw that, okay, the fabric sits in the middle. There is a sending capability, there is a receiving capability. Sender sends a message, the fabric routes the message to the receiver, right? But what does this sending capability need to do? So again, very simple protocols. The sending capability first needs to authenticate itself. It needs to tell the fabric that, hey, you know what? I'm not some kind of bogus guy. I'm authentic enough to send messages. So these are my authentication tokens. Route my messages to whoever needs to consume this thing, right? The second thing is that they need to implement a valid workflow or a contract. So the idea is that now let us consider this scenario. I'm a merchant, say running on a Magento storefront, and I have a specific custom storefront that I've configured. Now somebody comes and tells that, hey, you know what? I'm going to implement a tax solution for you. So I'm going to compute all kind of taxes for your products based on the geolocation of your customers. Some cooked up case, right? Now, as a developer, now I say that, hey, you know what? I solve this problem for this merchant, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to apply it to other guys. And now I see that the other guys are not talking the same language. All the work that I did for this particular merchant is not applicable. That is one scenario, right? This is a very common thing in the field of commerce. So people don't talk the same language, possibly because they have custom systems, they have some kind of a customization that's going on, or any other reason, right? So the way Xcommerce solves this is, they say that, hey, you know what? Let's make sure that all of you guys who are implementing capabilities talk some common language. The way we enforce that common language is the means of a workflow or a contract. All this workflow or a contract does is, in addition to many other things, the simplest thing it does is define a schema. It says that, hey, you know what? When you are sending a message for this particular topic, or this particular, if you're implementing a particular contract, make sure your message is structured in this following way. It should have these fields. It should have a bunch of these records and all that stuff. When you do this thing, you are kind of binding to a promise that you're not sending junk across, right? You're saying that, hey, you know what? I'm sending my message, and whoever is receiving the message can look up the same contract, and they can decode the message. That way, everybody is talking in a common language. message, right? And then the last thing that a sending capability needs to do is post a message to the fabric. So remember that no capability talks to other capability directly. Every communication happens via the fabric. So, and the communication is nothing but a post message. So I say that, hey, you know what, this is my message contract. This is the topic I want to post on. I'm going to do a post operation on the fabric. When I do all this stuff, my sending capability's job in a way is done. That's the most basic thing a sending capability can do. Now the receiving capability needs to first tell the fabric that it wants to listen to a particular topic. The way that does is, for instance, let's take a real world example, right? So FedEx is sitting on the fabric. FedEx has a capability. It says that anytime a merchant submits a shipping order, I want to listen to that message so that I can actually I can solve that need for them. So what it does is it subscribes to a topic that's defined by the Xcommerce contracts, which corresponds to that particular shipping order. And now once a merchant posts a topic, says that, hey, you know what, my customer needs a shipping order that my customer needs an order that needs to be fulfilled, the FedEx capability listens to that topic and it can do whatever it wants with that particular message. And also one more thing, one more thing the receiving capability needs to do is it needs to have a relationship with the tenant to receive messages. So the simplest mental model around that is, I cannot get all the messages even though I'm subscribed to the topic. And second, I should not be able to receive messages where I don't have any relationship with the person I'm receiving the messages for, right? So there is a tenancy relationship. So so when the receiving capability does these two things, it is able to receive the message and do whatever it wants with that particular message. So now let's take a very simple use case that illustrates these points, right? First, say customer comes and shops on a cart, and the cart now sends the order information to a shipping provider. And now the shipping provider retrieves this order information in some way, and then he sends back the tracking number, which the cart displays to the customer and completes the order. This is a very simple real world scenario, and we'll see how this happens via bunch of post operations with the fabric. There are a couple of basic assumptions I'm going to make here, purely in the interest of time. The first one is both the cart and the shipping providers are registered applications. So what I did was, before this webinar, I went to devportal.x.com and created these two capabilities and generated their authentication tokens. That way, I'm not I'm making sure that we don't go through this elaborate process of creating capabilities and registering tokens, copying them, and all that stuff, right? It's more of management stuff. So we'll just jump right to the meat. The second one is I'm going to use SyncBridge to retrieve messages. So SyncBridge is a synchronous bridge, right? So one more thing. So for instance, when somebody registers as a capability on the platform, they also need to mention how they are going to receive messages. Right? For instance, I say that, hey, you know what? I'm a FedEx capability. Xcommerce send me message. Then where does it send my message to? There should be some kind of an endpoint. There should be some kind of a destination that the messages are routed to, right? So one thing, for instance, if I don't want to deal with that thing, I don't want to specify any endpoint, what I can do is I can use something called the synchronous bridge to retrieve my messages. In this case, what happens is the synchronous bridge queues my messages, and now I can query against the sync bridge directly and specify my authentication token, and it gives me my message back. So that way I don't need to deal with any kind of endpoint or anything like that, right? Okay, now let's go to the demo. Okay, so what I did was I'm going to use a simple REST client for Chrome to demonstrate this. Before that, let me go to dev portal and just show you the capabilities that I created. All right. All right. So let's go to the sandbox and go to my capabilities. So if you look at the screen, there is this SV sample cart and there is this SV sample shipper. So these are the two capabilities that I created. One is a cart and one is a shipper. So if you remember this, the cart sends the order to the shipper retrieves the order, sends back the tracking number to the cart, right? Now let's look at the details to kind of show what the tokens are and stuff like that. So okay, so I created these two capabilities and subscribed a tenant. So pretty much what it does is this capability is authorized to send messages on behalf of this particular sample merchant. So, and this token that you see here, which I've highlighted in my screen, is the authentication token. This capability needs to set in its header when it sends a message. So that way it tells the Fabric that, hey, you know what, I'm an authorized guy, I'm acting on behalf of this person and I have a relationship with this person. So just route my message to whoever is consuming this thing. So with that out of the way, let's go back to the REST client. The first step is the cart sends a ship order to the capability, right? So the way this works is all the authorization and stuff that we set it in the header. So I have my authorization header set, which is the same token that I demonstrated here. And then we talked about a common message format, right? A common schema. So I'm going to look at the schema that's particular to this topic that I'm posting a message for. So most of our almost all our schemas are hosted on the Xcommerce open cloud. So this particular schema talks about a very simple order created message. So when I publish this, or when I post to this order created topic, I need to make sure that I have an order ID and I have an order type. So that's pretty much what I'm going to ensure here. I say that, hey, you know what, this is my message, order ID, some random thing, and order type is this. Now I'm going to post a message to the Fabric. So when I send this message, it gives me a 200 saying that, hey, you know, everything went out okay. Now the shipper now magically knows that he has got an order. This merchant has placed an order, and he says that I'm going to retrieve this order from the sync bridge, and I'm going to see what I need to do about it. So he sets his authorization token, which is determined by his tenancy relationship, and this XB count is the number of messages he needs to retrieve from the sync bridge. When he sends this message, he gets this particular binary formatted message, but we can see the code message in here, where he has an order ID and he has an order type. Now he can do whatever he wants. He can run his business logic, assuming that he has done everything. Then he sends the tracking number back. So the same protocol applies. So he posts this message onto a topic called order shipment, ship order succeeded. And if you look at the schema for that, all it does is it says that, hey, you know what, this is the order ID, and I'm going to set my shipping service, the estimated weight, and my tracking number. This is routed to the merchant now, right? Now, if you look at this, so I set my order ID, the shipping service as FedEx, my estimated weight as 1, tracking number is whatever something, FedEx 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I send this message back, and again I get a status 200 okay, which tells me that everything went fine. And now the cart has to just retrieve this message from the sync bridge, and it has to present it to the customer who is shopping on the cart, right? Now he sends this message back, and he gets the tracking number and everything associated with that particular order. So this completes the checkout flow, right? Now the cart will present this details to the customers, and they can complete the transaction. So this is a very simple real world scenario which shows different players who are exchanging messages via the Fabric. And as you can see, this can be stretched out to accommodate more complex use cases, more role players, not just two guys, but more role players. For instance, a developer can now come and say that I want to be a service provider. What I want to do is I want to send thank you notes for all the merchants who are fulfilling orders, right? So merchants can say that I'm going to consume this capability that sends thank you notes. So they can send a message, they can send their order information to this person, and I as a developer now I can work with other APIs out there like Sincerely and all these guys and create a customized thank you message, and then I can work with FedEx to complete that order, right? Now you can have multiple players playing the same game. This results in a very much richer commerce applications. That's all I had for the demo, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
All right, thanks for the presentation, Serenian. That was very informative. Now I want to challenge all of our audience members who haven't done so yet. Get out there and make your first capability on the sandbox. You can do it. At the end of the session today, you will all receive a survey about today's event. Again, I'd like to stress that it's very important that you fill this out and be honest with your comments. And only with your help can we make this event successful. So I guess while we're waiting for the audience to bring up any new questions, I'll ask you about what do I need to do to register on the dev portal as a capability? Like, can you show us all the endpoints that we need to know about?
So let me rephrase it. What do I need to know to register a capability? Is that the question? Or
Yeah, what do I need to do in order to register on the dev portal as a capability? So yeah, how do I
yeah.
register capabilities?
Oh, okay. Let me go to dev portal. Okay. So all you need to do is go to dev portal, log in with your PayPal credentials, and pretty much when you do when you register, you can click register capability here. So remember that a capability like serves a commerce need, right? So and it has an endpoint. That thing is an optional thing. So if you want your capability to be running somewhere, so you can actually have your endpoint. You pretty much fill in your capability details. So I don't want to give any endpoint, and pretty much like after that you pretty much register a capability. Right? So it's when you register now you that's about it actually. It's pretty simple to register capability. Does it answer your question? Do you actually want more details in general?
I think that's pretty clear. Thanks. We actually have a couple of questions from the audience now, so let's get to them. Um, uh, Ilio Iniguez, he had a question regarding what are the costs that are associated with the platform, the Fabric specifically.
Right now, it doesn't take anything to develop for the platform. So when you say costs, are you talking about costs in terms of dollar values, or are you talking about cost in terms of computational costs, or like what is like so what exactly what cost are we referring to?
Yes. Does it cost anything to subscribe to the Fabric service?
No, right now it does not. It's right now you can go ahead and build your capabilities, and it doesn't cost you a dime.
All right. Ilio, let me unmute you, and why don't you go ahead and ask Serene directly then? Go ahead, Ilio. You're on the air right now. Okay, I guess no audio from Ilio. His last comment was, "I would assume that individual solutions would have separate subscriptions." Is that true, Serenian?
Uh, Vivek might answer that thing better than me. I'm probably not the right person to answer that.
So right now, there is no cost associated or fees associated with developing and deploying solutions on the with the X.commerce Fabric. Uh, Most of the cost will be on your side to get your application hosted in the data center or a cloud service of your choice, right? Those are the costs that are there, but there is no cost to integrate with the Fabric.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have another question from Jonathan Hodges. Jonathan is asking, are there libraries for PHP, for instance, that allow for these messages to be sent easily via a method or a function? Or do I need to send these messages using something like curl or creating the stream myself? Hey, Jonathan,
There are like
Jonathan, I'm
I'm
gonna
sorry.
unmute your mic. So if you have anything to follow up on that, go ahead and speak up. Go ahead,
Okay,
Serena.
so we do have a PHP library that one of our guys built, which is pretty awesome. We can point you. I don't exactly recollect where it is on top of my head, but I can send you a link to it. But again, like looking at this is a simple like a web HTTP post, right? So you can pretty much use any kind of like a HTTP post libraries that your language provides. Like if it's Ruby, you can have HTTP party or something like that, or net HTTP if it's PHP. So I mean, you can use any kind of generic HTTP libraries to build your capabilities. But but when you're serializing and deserializing messages from Avro binary to JSON back and forth, right? For that, there are Avro libraries that we have provided, both for Ruby, PHP, and I believe it's also there for .NET. I'm not very sure, but there should be something. So yeah, that's pretty much what we have right now. So does it answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I was just wondering, could you send out links to those after
Yes,
the webinar?
I'll definitely send you the links to that. Jimmy, could you take Jonathan's email? I'll follow up.
Sure. Hey Jonathan, do you mind sending us an email at developer@x.com, and we'll get that back to you as soon as possible. All right. Next question is from Tim. He wants to know, is there a verification process for the capability?
So yes, there is a
Maybe Vivek.
yes, there is a short verification process. We call it the approval process for the capability. It's fairly lightweight for now, just to ensure that you've stood up HTTPS endpoints and things like that. It is like I said, it's fairly lightweight, and we are able to turn it around for simple stuff. If PII or PCI information is not involved, we are able to turn it around pretty quickly, in the order of 24 to 48 hours.
Hey T, you are unmuted. So does that answer your question? Feel free to.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thanks for your question. All right. Next question is also from T. He wants to know, what if someone submits a capability that is not useful for merchants?
So okay, the way I look at this thing is, so the question, Vivek, is what if someone submits a capability that's not useful for merchants, right? So it, I feel it is up to you to identify the business need, right? If your capability is going to be useful. But right now with the sandbox we have, it is a playground for you. It's there for you to experiment with things that are like that are possibly useful or that are purely experimental ideas, and play around to see like what you can cook out of it. But in future we'll definitely like help you guys. We'll put together something on like X.com which provides some use case scenarios which you might look at and get inspiration from. So I think that's what I think about the question. It's more about you can come up with anything you want, to be honest, right? Who's going to consume it is a different story.
Okay, thanks for the answer. T, does that answer your question?
Yes, I was very happy with the answer.
Cool. Thanks again for chiming in. Let's see. Next question is from Elio. He wants to know, last time you talked about the approval process for solutions. When a developer or integrator has a solution ready for release, how long do you expect until approval? So I guess he wants to know how long it takes for that.
I think we already answered
questions
about for solutions that don't involve PCI, PII use cases. We are able to turn it around within 24 to 48 hours. Having said that, I hope most of the capabilities that are in production today have been developed by our partners who are in touch with our business development teams. So I would encourage you to sign up at the, if you have solutions that you need to take to market, I'd encourage you to sign up with our partner team, and we can send out the info for that.
All right. Okay. Thanks for answering that. Our next question is from Alex Boone. He wants to know, how do you manage the payments from service consumers to providers?
So today this is handled out of band, outside of the platform. When a service provider sets up a solution on the platform, the merchant will, or the consumer, in a general scenario, will see a UI gadget, if you will, that allows the merchant or the consumer to provision himself for that service or capability, and payments are handled through that mechanism as opposed to directly on the platform itself.
Hey, Alex, does that answer your question? Your mic is unmuted, so you can go ahead and speak up if you want.
Yeah, so basically the service provider just tracks usage and they're responsible for billing on that usage outside of this system?
That is correct. That is the state at this moment.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for chiming in, Alex. Okay, our next question comes from Alexi. He wants to know, how can I see capabilities of others in the sandbox?
So that is a feature that is not yet available on the developer portal. We've identified that use case to enable collaboration between multiple parties, but we are able to set up a integration. If you guys work with us, we are able to set up an integration between your capability and the other capabilities that you are interested in integrating with. So it's at the moment it's a manual process that requires some intervention on our part, and it's not a self-service that you're able to take care of yourself.
Does that answer your question, Alexi? Your mic is unmuted, so you can speak up if you want.
Okay, yes, it's what I knew, but I hoped that something changed since then, and maybe you know when that can be possible. I mean, to integrate with another systems, with other capabilities.
And so the solution is in the works, but I cannot give out any exact dates or roadmap plans at this point in time.
Okay, but there is another question. Maybe you can tell me if I can use bridge with this sandbox environment. For example, if I do not enter endpoint URL, can I use SyncBridge with this sandbox fabric?
So I'm sorry, what is the question?
Can I use SyncBridge working with this sandbox fabric?
Yes, you can. That's what Saranyan's demo today involved using the SyncBridge with the sandbox fabric. So Saranyan,
okay, thank you.
Do you want to do you want to add anything?
No, it's okay. Thank you. Now I see that it's only in plan you can publish. You can like create capabilities in your sandbox account and expect then that in meantime maybe it will be available to publish them to be publicly available. So I switched to this previous question of mine. Is that correct? So it's not working right now. Hello?
So okay, so you've if I understand you correctly, you're attempting to register capability without an endpoint URL, and you are expecting to use the sync bridge to be able to send and receive messages. I'm trying to understand the usage scenario.
My scenario is, hello?
Okay, so let me jump in. I think if there is a more detailed discussion required, I would encourage you to get in touch with us. We can work with you one-on-one to resolve your specific issue. Would that work for you?
Okay, yes. Well, thank you for this answer.
Okay, Lexi, why don't you can you shoot us an email at developer@x.com, and I'll forward it to Vivek, and we'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
Cool, appreciate it. Thanks. All right, really good questions so far. I really encourage you guys to keep coming up with them. So next question is from okay, I'm gonna have a hard time pronouncing this one. It is, I'm gonna guess, Jae-woong Kim. He wants to know, how does Fabric handle the latency between sending and receiving capability?
So I do not know the exact I cannot delve in, like we cannot go into the exact the technical the architectural details of it. I can find it out for you, but the complete communication is asynchronous, right? So the way it works is the sender sends a message to the Fabric, and Fabric posts a response back to to both the sending capabilities that a message is successful, and when a receiver now is subscribed to the topic, it sends the message, right? So everything is it's the complete communication is asynchronous between the sender and receiver. So I'm not really sure, like how to define latency between sending and receiving capability. To be honest, I can check it out and get you the exact details, but probably I cannot field the question now at this point. I don't know. I'm not very sure.
Hey Jae-woong, you're unmuted. So does that answer your question, or do you have anything to follow up on that?
Yeah, I'm good now.
Okay, thanks for your question. All right. So next question is from Elio. He says, are X.commerce solutions available now, or do we have to wait for a final release?
So they are available now.
So
Primarily, we have our partners and partners who develop solutions that have been exposed via Magento Connect. So merchants on Magento can go to Magento Connect and download and install extensions that are integrated with the Fabric. So I would encourage you to go to Magento Commerce, the Connect marketplace, and search for X.commerce extensions. And we can
yeah, and also following up with Vivek's answer, right? So we also have the sandboxes there, and you could build capabilities against it. So it is there. You can actually use it to build applications and test it out, and I think that would be a good start.
Cool. All right, our next question comes from Jonathan again. He wants to know, as contracts evolve, will X.com be offering a translation between versions of the contracts to allow backward compatibility?
So far from whatever I understand, everything is backward compatible, right? All the contracts that we have are backward compatible, so it should not be a problem. And I think that's one of the things that the team always focuses on, to make sure that nothing breaks that currently exists. So for some reason, if it's not going to be backward compatible, I'm pretty sure there'll be some kind of a migration plan or something that supports it. Maybe Vivek, you can probably add in to this if
So
it's not sufficient.
within a minor release, the contracts will be backward compatible. The issue comes across when you move to a major release of the contract, right? And at that point, it's really the consumers have at that point cannot have any expectations of backward compatibility, and it's also up to the provider to figure out how long will they support the older versions of that contract, and so yeah, the short answer is that contracts are backward compatible within a given release, given a major version release.
Hey, Jonathan, your mic is unmuted. Does that all that answer your question, or do you have anything follow up on that?
Yeah, I'm wondering how often will major releases be released?
Okay, so right now the rate of change is fairly brisk because it's evolving. As you can imagine, with any standards effort, in the beginning of the life cycle, there is a lot more churn. But because we have to address the needs of the various players in the system, um, but eventually it will slow down. We don't have a specific cadence that we are committing to right now. But there is the rate of change is you should expect it to be fairly quick.
Cool. Anything else, Jonathan?
No, I think that covers it. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks again for the question. That looks like all the questions we have so far. I guess while we're waiting for more questions, can I ask you, Serenian, what kind of technologies as a developer can I use on the Fabric?
So you can pretty much use any language, anything that supports HTTP post, right? Any language that does that. And also one thing you might want is to make sure is that your language that you're developing a capability has support for Avro encoding and decoding, because that's a serialization that we use right now. So most of the common languages have that. Like you can use PHP, Python, like Ruby, .NET, pretty much anything with which you can do an HTTP post should work.
Cool. And I know you've already gone over the sync bridge, but as a developer, why would I have to use that?
I mean, so two things, right? In some business cases, you want synchronous ways of retrieving your messages. You don't want to deal with async message communication. That's one reason. The second thing is, if you are testing and you don't want to stage an endpoint, then you don't want to host an endpoint, then you can, for instance, you're developing your capability on your local system, and you don't want to deal with setting up a web server and have an endpoint. A sync bridge is a good way of kind of going around that. You can use the sync bridge to retrieve the messages. Even if your capability does not specify an endpoint, the messages are not lost. So those are two common reasons for which you can use sync bridge.
Hey, can I add some more? This is Praveen.
Yeah, Praveen, go for it.
So Jimmy, it kind of goes to the other question too that was asked earlier about how Fabric handles the overhead in sending and receiving the messages. So one of the core aspects of the Fabric is all based on the synchronous programming. The reason for that is typically in any commerce use case that you look at, things are not done almost immediately as one would expect in the other non-commerce use cases, like in the social world or in blogs and other things on the web. When you make an API call, you kind of expect that the result will happen almost immediately. But in the commerce land, and most of the use cases that you look at, even including the sample that Saranyan walked us through before, a shipping provider has to do certain things before he can respond back with a tracking ID and estimate time and things like those. So in order to be able to handle those kinds of scenarios, the model that we adopted is the synchronous programming model, where you should be able to receive the messages asynchronously back from the capability that you're really relying on. So you might think of that as it's adding additional latencies for sending and receiving the messages, but in the grand scale of things, it actually improves the overall functional aspects of things, so that you can scale to the commerce level. Hundreds and thousands of users shop online from your stores, and you don't want to keep opening up those connections with your shipping provider for each and every one of those users. You want to quickly send a message data on the rest of the HTTP connection, and then when the shipping provider is ready, he will let you know. So it kind of helps in improving the overall performance aspects. So what that means is you should be able to, as a capability developer, whether you're a sender or a receiver, you should be able to receive a message directly on your capability from the Fabric, which means you need to have a publicly available endpoint that you can listen the messages in, just like the way you would receive an instant payment notification or a client notification from PayPal and eBay services. In the same way, you need to have an endpoint where you can receive these messages from the Fabric. So for that needs, it could cause some problems when you're developing the capabilities behind a firewall or an enterprise corporate network. So in those cases, you might need a way to bridge that security firewall in a way that you're not exposing your resources to the wide internet, but rather you're basically going in and capturing the information that you need. So that's where the sync bridge really fits in. We generally do not recommend that to be the primary way of communicating with Fabric when you go live. We actually recommend you to be asynchronous too, so that you can scale. But in the worst case, when you cannot accept the messages asynchronously, you can always use those in the live. But keep in mind that the additional overhead it's going to add to your applications.
Cool. Thanks for the explanation, Praveen. That was very, very clear. We have a question from the audience now, though, from Evan Zhao. His question is, does X.commerce accept other payment methods other than PayPal?
So the
Want me to take that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So as it's been asked before in another question, the platform itself, the Fabric itself, does not really provision any payment at this point. As a developer, as a merchant, or as a service provider, you are responsible for collecting the payments from your merchants or from your consumers, whichever way it makes sense for you. Obviously, we would definitely love you to use PayPal, given that we are part of the PayPal family too. But at this point, it's completely up to you and how you monetize your capabilities and the functionality or features that you're building for your consumers and merchants. It's really up to you. You're not required to use PayPal in one way or the other.
Cool. That's pretty clear cut. Evan, do you have anything to follow up on that? You're unmuted right now.
Oh no, it's pretty good.
Cool. Thanks for your question, man. All right. Next question. We have another one from Elio. Elio, I hope I'm saying your name correct. So if I'm saying it wrong, please let me know. Does the receiver have to pull requests, or are they pushed from the Fabric?
So it depends on your implementation. If you've chosen the asynchronous model and you've registered a capability with a publicly accessible endpoint, then the Fabric will push messages to your capability. If you're using the sync bridge, then it is your responsibility to pull the request from the sync bridge, to retrieve the request from the sync bridge. So another way to answer that question is yes. If you register a publicly accessible endpoint with the Sandbox Fabric, the Sandbox Fabric will push messages to you.
Okay, thanks for the answer. That looks like that's all the questions we have from the audience today, and it is 11:55, so I guess it's time for us to wrap up. Again, I'd like to remind everybody that's listening in, at the end of the session, you will receive a survey about today's event. Again, it's very important that you fill this out and be honest with your comments. We will take all your comments into consideration when we come up with our next show. Again, thanks everybody who's chimed in and asked a question today. We really appreciate your participation, and we hope you enjoyed this session of Chat with X.commerce. And again, we look forward to speaking to you again at our next session coming up in a month. For more information about our upcoming episodes, please go to www.x.com/community/events/chat. Again, that is www.x.com/community/events/chat. All right. Have a good one, developers, and we'll talk to you again next month. Bye.